you are the young change makers. And so if you're able to listen to the stories from Indigenous people, and maybe you're an Indigenous youth as well, and understand the history, the true history of our country, you'll be able to move forward in a way that promotes healing and reconciliation, that addresses colonial wrongs, and that just makes a better world for all of us. So if you don't know me, my name is Leela Gilday. I'm from the Northwest Territories. We call it Dene, and up here we're the Dene Nation. So a lot of my songs and my stories talk about connection to the land, the importance of that connection and how powerful it is. The stories of the people and living in balance with the land. I also think it's very important to talk about mental health. So I know we all sometimes feel sad and maybe experience some type of mental health issue. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's really important to talk about it. And for me, as a person growing up, a young person growing up, I actually grew up in Edzo, which is a small Tlicho community just outside of Yellowknife. I really didn't understand at that point. You know, you're just a kid. You're doing your own thing. For me, I grew up, is a very, very small community, so we spent a lot of time on the land. We spent a lot of time at drum dances, which is our traditional form of Dene music. I really didn't understand how important and special my place in the world was. And I think this should, I guess one of the lessons that I learned when I was a very young person, because I always sang, I always played music, and I'm going to play a few songs for you in a minute, but what I really learned as I was growing up is that my voice is very important and unique, just like all of your voices. So there's no other person in the world like you, and you're the only person that can express those feelings and that creative voice inside you. So, and I heard a saying one time, many years ago, that the woods would be very silent if no birds sang except for the best. So if you can just take that and think about it, just reflect on it. We live in a world where we hear a lot of the same kind of voices over and over in the media and in social media, in pop culture, but it's really important to listen to those unique voices that are telling other stories. So this song is called All Alone, and it's about walking your heart path. All alone I travel on the night, and if you are watching, keep me safe, guide my life. I will know you there by your gentle hand, and if I reach my home, it will be my promised land. Help me to walk in beauty on this dark, lonely road. Give me the strength when I fail, get back up and bear my load. Give me compassion for real, will steady my hand and my heart. And in this great big world, oh Lord, I'll play my part. Give me compassion for real, yeah. will steady my hand and my heart. And in this great big world, Lord, will I'll play. I'll play my part. Oh, whoa, 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 my part, yeah. Masicho. It's so funny. This is a new way of performing. Normally I would be standing in front of you in your classroom, speaking to you and listening to your voices and seeing your faces. And I am glad that we can still be together in this way online, but I do miss you. It's been kind of a tough last few months for me. You know, usually I travel all over the world. Last year after I released my record, I went to Germany and I went to Finland and I played my music all over Canada for thousands and thousands of people. And and now things are changing, and we're supposed to stay home, and in order to take care of our most vulnerable people, you know, when I go out of my house to a store, I wear my mask, and I'm washing my hands all the time, and I'm really conscious of how those actions impact other people. And that, I think, is the main thing that we have to remember, even though, you know, perhaps you're in school now, or perhaps you're watching this from home, but in this time, all of our actions are really significantly having an effect on other people. But that doesn't stop when the pandemic's over. I think we have to really think about how our actions impact the earth, impact other people. We're in the middle of some very great changes right now, and our earth is at risk. We're climate change is a real thing, and working together, we can help reverse it. So don't think that, you know, your actions are only one little action. Together they make a big action. So this next song I wanted to play for you is it's about the power of the land. So in Dene, we have many, many people who still hunt and fish regularly for food. And a lot of my family goes out. I go fishing sometimes. Lots of my uncles and cousins will send us moose meat or caribou meat. And it really helps you understand the power of the land. I think a lot of you are probably from places where there's a lot of bush or wild territory around you. And I think it's really important to think about how powerful that land is and respect it. This song is called Cold Wind, and it's based on a Dene drum song, a traditional Dene drum song, and it's about a young man who goes out hunting. Hey, 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 hi, hi. Hey, 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 hi, hi. Hey, 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 hi, hi. Hey, 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 hi, hi. First thing I remember, I was screaming down the trail. My sled was having problems, but I never thought it'd fail. Oh, my load was heavy, I had 2 moose in the bush. I knew my mom'd be proud of me, we'd feed all of our family. That's when it happened. Something went wrong. Hey, 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 hi, hi. Hey, hey, broken sled, but no amount of coaxing worked. The motor was just dead. I was too frozen even in my winter gear. I knew my only chance was just to walk on out of there. Winter moon shone brightly, northern lights they dance. Ah, hey, 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 ah, hey, 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 hi, hi, hey, 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 hi, hi. The cold wind blows on, so far away from home. The fire will be my guide to rest my bones. I knew the town was having drum dance and a fire, so I tried to move my feet back home, but man, was I tired. The next thing I knew, I was laying in the snow, and when I closed my eyes, could just hear the drums at home. Well, take me home. Ah, hey, hey, ah, hey, 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 ah, hey, 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 hi, hi. Hey, 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 hi, hi. The cold wind blows on, so far away from home. The fire will be my guide to rest my soul. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Masicho, it's always so weird when you have a really dramatic ending and then I can hear you through the internet clapping. Thank you, Masicho. I wanted to end on a piece that I just wrote, because I think it's particularly important to remember this, especially when you're going through rough times, when you're going through obstacles in your life, because we all do, all of us do, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from. I actually originally wrote this song for the World Cup of Cross-Country Skiing 2020, which it was the theme song, and unfortunately the competition was canceled, but it still rang true for me, and so we released it as a single. I haven't had a chance to play it with my full band yet, but hopefully down the road we'll be able to be together again, and maybe we'll come to your school, who knows. I also wanted to show you this because this song is about when we're facing obstacles, we have to remember that we are extremely resilient. We're very strong. The reason that we're here is because our ancestors survived, and then those ancestors survived, and then on down the road until it got to us. So that courage and that strength actually runs through your veins, in your blood, and it can be a comfort when you're feeling like you're alone, or you're feeling like, oh, I can't make it through this, you know, I feel really discouraged, or, you know, things are really hard. Just remember that you're not alone, and that you come from a long line of very strong people. So I wanted to show you this. I keep it on my wall to remind me who I am. This is a Dene drum, and that was a painting that my cousin, this drum was made by my uncle, and it was given to me as a gift when I graduated high school. And this is a painting that my cousin did of me singing to the moon, or maybe to the sun. And I keep it on my wall to remember, you know, when when I am going through tough times, like right now is kind of a tough time, that I come from very strong people. And that so when you remember who you are and you feel grounded in that, it's easier to go forward knowing that you're not alone. So this song is called Giants, and I want to dedicate it to every single youth that's watching out there. You're beautiful, you inspire me, and it's for you that I'm moving forward with my music.
We are brilliant as the snow, 10 million years of atoms glow, shining through the deepest night. Trust the stars to bring you home, though you're out there on your own. Ancestors guide you to the light. Ancestors guide you to the light. Shine bright, feel strong. We are giants in our heart. Well, hey, well, hey, 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 oh. Took some time to get you here. Looking back, we feel the tears. We remember what we gave. Letting go of all your fears. Thankful for 1,000 years. Courage in our DNA. Courage in our DNA. Shine bright, feel strong. We are giants in our heart. Well, hey, well, hey, hey, oh. Dene chonke suri na ketse eyihe e dakriye. Their blood runs through your blood. Shine bright, feel strong. We are giants in our heart. Shine bright, feel strong. We are giants in our heart. We are giants in our heart. Well, hey, well, hey, hey, oh. Masicho.
All right. So great, Leela. Thank you so much. That was incredible.
See.
Let me just bring some of the classrooms back out here so it's not too loud. That was great. And I think, you know, just looking at the comments on YouTube from the students, they loved every minute of it. And really, I think the ultimate compliment from a student is when they say, you know, not what I usually listen to, but I love it. This is awesome. So I think you have some new fans out there too. So very cool. Thank you so much, Leela.
I see. Thank you.
All right. Well, we would love to meet some classrooms and give them a chance to ask you some questions, because I have no doubt that they have some. So those who are tuning in on YouTube, thanks for your awesome comments and support during Leela's set, playing those songs for us. So feel free to send some questions in via the chat, and I am going to bring some of our groups in, and let's start getting some questions. So we're going to go to North Bay, Ontario. We're going to bring in Miss Saunders' grade 6 class. I see someone waiting for us. Let's go.
Hi, guys.
Hi, I'm Bronte. I live in Nipissing First Nation. And if you have a spirit name, what is it, and what does it mean to you?
Oh, wow. Just cutting straight to the heart of the matter. It's funny, I don't normally share my Dene name with people, but I feel comfortable to share it with all of you. And it's funny because I actually thought of that today, and I thought, no, I'll just leave it. But my Dene name is Nadat, which means the mover, and that was given to me by Mrs. Football many, many years ago. She's a Clinchon lady, and I guess it kind of means like that I'll move all over the place. And I've traveled to almost every continent so far. Haven't been to Africa or Antarctica, but I've been all over the world, and I shared music with millions of people. So I fulfilled the name that she gave me when I was a little baby. Thanks for that question.
All right, and thank you for sharing with us. We're honored that you share with us today, Leela. That's great. We've got a class in British Columbia joining us, Miss Matthews' group, and they are wondering how long you've been singing for.
Oh, thank you. I've been singing I started singing when I was a baby, but I started performing when I was 8 years old. So I guess I just turned 46 2 days ago. So I guess that's 38 years I've been singing solo, and professionally I've been singing for 20 years. So I've just released my 5th album.
Okay, let's bring in another class here. We've got Miss Reed's class. They're grade 7s. They're joining us in Ontario. They're in a virtual class. So how you doing, Miss Reed?
Good, thanks. Hi, Leela. Our class wanted to know that since you are an Indigenous woman, was it hard to become a singer, and how did you do it, and were you treated any differently because of that?
That's an excellent question, and I think one that many young Indigenous girls particularly wonder. Yes, there were a lot of obstacles. The industry is not really set up to favor Indigenous women, or women in general, or non-binary people. So I definitely faced a lot of, I would say, discrimination, but there's also a lot of really great things, and I think it's hard, no matter who you are, to get into the music industry. But the main thing is to focus on that your voice is needed. So as an Indigenous woman, the stories that I tell are unique. I actually studied opera when I went to university, so I have a degree in music, and studying opera and singing opera, and I love singing opera, but I found it really difficult because my own creative voice and my own stories, and as an Indigenous woman, were not being expressed, which is why I went into songwriting. So I think that answers your question. I could go on and on about my history with the voice, but it's been worth it.
All right. Well, we have several classrooms who are joining from Range Lake North School in Yellow Lake, Northwest Territories. Several are joining via YouTube, but we have one of them joining us in a camera spot. So I'm going to bring them into the call now. If you want to go ahead and unmute the mic, Mrs. Rowland, we'd love to grab a question. Or sorry, Mrs. Townsend.
What is your favorite song out of all the songs you have written?
Oh, it's always usually my last song. So I mean, your songs for me are, my songs are like my babies. So when I make a new song, I'm like, oh, this is the best song ever. But I think in terms of impact, one of my favorite songs is actually North Star Calling, the title track from my last record. I know for a fact that it's a song that talks about the importance of talking about mental health and suicide, because that's what we face a lot of really terrible statistics here in the north and in Nunavut in particular, but also in the NWT. And I know for a fact that that song has impacted people's lives in a really positive way. So I think for me, I think that song is the one that I'm most proud of.
All right, let's bring in a question here from our YouTube community. We've got lots of questions coming in. This is from Mrs. Yu's class, and they're wondering if most of your songs are based on real life experiences.
I would say the short answer to that question is yes. It's always important as a songwriter to write what you know. So for example, the song that I sang in the middle, Cold Wind, it tells the story of a young man going out onto the land, and I have lost, and he doesn't make it in the end. His snowmobile breaks down and the cold gets him. But I've lost a few friends who've gone out on the land and never made it back. So things like that, I feel, make things more powerful. If you're a writer wanting to share your own stories too, I think that's like, it's important to speak from a perspective that you're familiar with. That being said, I have written stories that are kind of reflect an issue that is important to me or a situation that I heard of from somebody else. So it's not always autobiographical.
Okay, I'm going to bring another class into the stream with us so that they can ask a question. So Mr. Bosia has students joining him. They are in Ontario as well. Looks like Wendack Beach, 6th graders, and they're in a virtual class. So let's bring them in. How you doing?
Good. How are you? One of my students, sorry, there's a little bit of feedback here. One of my students, Angelina, is wondering, your lyrics are so powerful. What's your process like for coming up with lyrics to your songs?
Thank you so much. I'm glad that they resonated with you. I usually start with a phrase. I mean, my songwriting process is such that I normally write a melody and lyrics together. So I'll start with a phrase that kind of sticks in my mind. I don't always wait for inspiration either. Sometimes songwriting is just a craft. You have to dedicate time to it and sit down and just throw out ideas. It's really important in that initial creative phase to be very gentle with yourself. So when you're throwing out ideas, just put down anything. Don't say no to yourself. Don't say like, that's bad, because you never know when something's gonna hit. So, and you might go back. I've gone back to books of lyrics that I've had years and years later, and I was like, that phrase, that was a really amazing phrase, and taken that phrase and put it in a new song. So, yeah, that's a little window into my songwriting practice.
All right, so several students are asking a similar question. You know, you did mention that there are struggles in the music industry, especially as a woman and as an Indigenous woman as well. So students are wondering, are there times where you wanted to give up, and what kind of kept you going at those times?
There's absolutely many times that I wanted to give up. Music is amongst the most challenging careers to actually make a living. So I'm lucky enough to have made a solid living at music for the last 15 years, but it wasn't always that way. And definitely there were lots of times where I remember I actually moved to Toronto for 5 years, and while I was paying my dues, and I remember one time I was actually waitressing and and singing, like playing my gigs. I wanted a low commitment job. So I thought, waitressing, which is actually quite difficult. And I remember I didn't pick up enough shifts, so I couldn't afford to buy milk for my fridge. So there's definitely been some financial times that have been really difficult. But also it's hard when you're a songwriter and you put the most deepest expression of yourself out there. If it doesn't resonate with people, or if people say negative things about you, it's hard to make sure to keep your chin up and But I always go back to what I mentioned in my presentation about, it's actually a Goethe quote about how the woods would be silent if no bird sang except for the best. I think it's really important to remember that. We're in a time where we don't know, you don't probably realize this, but you've been kind of trained to think that the white male voice is the center of the universe because of colonization and colonialism. But actually other voices are equally as important as that centered voice. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with white male voices. I think they're beautiful and diverse as well, but it's really important in this time to realize that other voices need to be uplifted and raised and empowered so that they can be heard as well. So I feel like I'm a part of that diversity, that my stories are important for people to hear, especially at this moment in our collective history.
All right. We're going to bring in some 4th and 5th graders in Pembroke, Ontario, and they are with Miss Thomas. Would you like to pop your mic on? We'd love to grab a question.
Okay, I don't know how to find my camera. Sorry.
That's okay. We can hear you.
You don't have to get a camera. Olivia, what's your question? Okay. Elizabeth? Did you hear that? What are your top favorite songs that you have done?
Oh, that I have done. Well, I mentioned one earlier, but the other top favorite song, I actually didn't play it today, but it's probably my #1 hit, and it's called One Drum. So if you haven't heard of my music before, there is a music video out there to my song One Drum that I think you'll enjoy.
All right. We've got an interesting question here on YouTube. This is from Miss Wood's class, grade 5 class looks like. And they're wondering, 2020 has been quite a year. Has this inspired any songs for you lately?
Oh, that is a great question. I'm actually yes, so it has been a real crazy year for everyone in the music industry, not just me. I've been here in Yellowknife in Dene the whole time. So that's very unusual. I usually, by this time of year, I would have taken between 80 and 90 flights, but no traveling right now. So staying home, and I also got a chance to go out on the land to Dichinta Bush University and teach a whole course on Dene music, both historical and contemporary. And so yes, during that time and since then, I have been writing some new music. I'm also writing an entire album of songs, which I hope to produce, to put out next year, all in my own language, so all in Dene. So that's very, it's very exciting because I don't speak my language. My mother, who went to residential school, even though she didn't speak English until she was 10, she never taught us to speak our language because she was kind of, I guess she thought it would be easier if we just focused on English, and of course we know that's not the case now. But as a result, I don't speak my language. It's something I'm really striving to learn, and writing in music, writing music in Dene, telling those stories in my own language, I think is a really great way to connect. So that's the exciting project. And once or sometimes twice a year, but is very, very expensive. It's only has winter road, winter road access, so you can't, the rest of the time you have to fly in, and flights are literally $1,800 returned from Yellowknife. So I try to go as often as possible, but I can't always afford it. So I love going back to Délįne, going back home, and seeing the whole family. I come from a very large family, so I have almost 200 cousins, aunts, uncles, and seeing them in the community is just, it does my heart good. It really grounds me. Traveling is a necessity to reach, for my music to reach as many people as possible. So while I'm actually getting a little bit tired of traveling so much, so this year has been a bit of a break, I still like to reach people who wouldn't necessarily listen to my music because they don't know about me or something else. So it's kind of a 50-50 sort of thing.
Okay, well, speaking of music, there's some curiosity online about, what are some of the artists who inspire you and you enjoy listening to?
Well, I really love listening to other Indigenous artists, and so obviously Buffy St. Marie is one, but there's a million really incredible artists that are out there that some of my contemporaries are like Iskway. I'm very good friends with Tanya Tagak. I really love our contemporary songwriters as well, like Kaylee Cardinal or William Prince. I particularly love a songwriter by the name of Leela Gilday, who's my younger brother. So all those artists, speaking our truth and getting out there and putting our music out really inspire me to keep going and sharing myself. So I also go back to the original tapes that I purchased as a young girl, and they were really cassette tapes, that you press play on, the tape goes in. Was Stevie Wonder, Whitney Houston, and Aretha Franklin, and I think those voices have really influenced how I sing as well. So those are some of the artists that I love.
All right. Many of our students probably don't know what those cassettes are, but I definitely had some of those cassette tapes growing up. Or you'd listen to the radio for the song you like and try to hit record at the right time. Totally. Yeah. Things have changed a little bit.
Oh my gosh, it's a whole new world.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up today, I want to give a shout out to the groups who joined us on YouTube, especially our school in Yellowknife. Great to have so many of the classrooms tuning in to today's event today. I want to give a big shout out to the legacy schools who joined us today. And, if there are classrooms tuning in today who are, interested in learning more, you can go to the Gore Downey and Jenny Wenjack Fund. The website's popped up there, so you can take a look at how to join and find some resources. And then if you want to join in some more Secret Path week events in the week coming up, you can head over to exploringbytheseat.com and you will find the events there. They're under the special events section, and there's a section for Secret Path week events. And then most important of all, Leela, thank you so much. That was an incredible performance. Most of the words coming through from the students tuning in were powerful, amazing, great. They were impressed about the sound that you were getting from just playing the guitar. So they thoroughly enjoyed today. So thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for opening up a little bit with some of the stories behind the music as well. It was great to host you.
Masicho, it's really, it does inspire me as well to speak to and to sing for students. I really mean it when I say you guys are the change makers, and I feel inspired by you. So Masicho for having me, and to the Downie Wenjack Foundation.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. We are going to sign off for now. Thank you so much.